Welcome. This is Luke with Been There, Dump That, and I'm joined today by Mike Valchuk from Building Dreams Contracting.
Thank you, Luke, for having me.
Thanks for jumping on this podcast episode, and we appreciate your time, Mike. So, I wanted to invite you on to have a conversation about something we've seen in our field across our franchise network. We hear conversations and we're privy to some homeowner miscues or missteps or mistakes during a home renovation project. And we thought you'd be one of the experts in the field to have a discussion about that and help homeowners steer away from these potential miscues. So, Mike, why don't we start with kind of the history of yourself in the contracting industry and where and how Building Dreams Contracting was formed and founded.
Yeah, so Building Dreams Contracting has been around for 10 years. We started with kind of our roots. So I have a business partner, Grant O'Neill, and both of us came from a structural background. So production framing, doing large commercial buildings, the big structural stuff that a lot of people fear. We didn't fear it because we understand it. We were the Lego building kids that knew how to follow instructions. So with a set of instructions, and with how resourceful we are, we can pretty much build just about anything. And together we've formed Building Dreams Contracting. And then, so we started downtown Hamilton, we were doing a lot of residential builds and remodels. And then we got linked up with a big builder in Hamilton that was taking 100-year-old buildings, repurposing them, making them structurally sound, and then, essentially raising the value of that area. And then through that, our name just started to snowball and get more and more known. And we did do a transition where we were a lot more commercial at the beginning, just because we were in high demand for what we knew and, our brain power. And then we did make a transition at one point to start catering a lot more to homeowners than the commercial market. Residential homeowners, there's something a little bit different and a little more special and a little more connected when you're dealing with a homeowner versus yes, the world of commercial is great. It's financially great as well. There is less of an attachment, if I could say it that way, than there is with residential. When I'm dealing with a homeowner, for instance, the first thing that our company does is we build trust. The first thing, we're not building anything. We're not putting any nails in. We haven't done anything. The first thing that we have to build is trust between people. And that wasn't as predominant in the commercial world. Yes, of course it is. But when it comes to one-on-one and dealing with homeowners, there's something just more connected about that process. And I think we do it exceptionally well. And that's why our name has done really well in the market and why we're seeing one of our busiest years that we've ever had.
That's awesome, Mike. So you've been working with homeowners for a long time now, and you can probably see when some renovation projects go awry, and there could be a lot of reasons for that. And I've seen it personally, right? I've seen it on my own end where I've made mistakes as a homeowner with home renovation projects, whether it's a DIY project or I'm working with a contractor like yourself. And you hit on one of the things that I don't know if we'll specifically touch on, but building that trust between the homeowner, the contractor, seems like it'd be something crucial. And without that, a lot of mistakes can probably be made, don't you think?
Yeah, I think early on in the process, so I try to put it into reality. I'm also a homeowner, almost a 40-year-old man. I meet a lot of people in my industry, and with that, you get to see lots of different personalities, and each individual has something different that they bring to the table and something different that they want out of their home. Not everybody wants the same white kitchen, that take down a wall and make it bigger. There's a lot of undertones on why people actually make the decision to spend one of the biggest investments of their life. And that's what I want to find out. So meeting one is usually digging deep and finding out, why are we here? Why have I been called? Why me? And and through finding out, the reasons people are doing it, we're doing one in Oakville right now. One of the biggest reasons that they want to do a renovation is they're big entertaining people. And with that, their current layout has 3 different rooms, essentially conjoined by just doorways. And it's like a dining room, a kitchen, and a living room, but none of them are attached other than a doorway. And they have big potential to blow open the walls and make it all one large room, but separating and shaping it through furniture placement. And that comes with experience, and that comes with the design package. And, we can go down a couple of those roads as far as like what helps make a job efficient. But right out the gates, I found out the motivator was that it was connection. It was entertaining and connection. They were finding that when they had people over, everybody was crammed into one area and they weren't feeling comfortable with that. So I would say through building trust, in order to build trust, you really have to be listening and listening intently, but also being able to ask the right questions to pull out the information I'm looking for. Because it's not just me going in there. It's not just drywall, wood, plumbing materials. It's far more than that for me, and it always has been. And that's why we've done so well in the market is we're building for purpose. We're building for people, not just building for the sake of building a wall and putting in flooring.
So, Mike, you made a great point there about the investment. And this could be, or likely is, one of the larger investments a homeowner is going to make is in a home renovation project. Kitchens could cost up to 60, 70,000 plus. Doing a bathroom could just be just south of 50,000. So these are significant investments here, right? So it's crucial not to make some of the mistakes that you've probably seen homeowners make. So let's just dig into some common mistakes you might see a homeowner make when they're going through this process of this sort of project.
Yeah, throughout the experience, you're going to see a lot of different pitfalls, we'll call them, that come up. Kind of early on, I would say budget expectation is very crucial. So just educating homeowners on what things truly cost. Countless times do I go to a 500 square foot basement and they want bathroom, living room, bedroom sort of idea, fully finished kind of flooring to ceiling with all new electrical and stuff, but they only have a $20,000 budget. So it's digging in and finding out what their education is on, in the construction area, and if they even understand how far their budget will go. The other part of that, when we're talking budget, is just because somebody may have a lower budget doesn't mean that we, like, at least how we run, it's not like, okay, well, we can't do that one thing that is what we had in mind. It's, hey, yes, you might not have the full budget of your full scope of work, but here's the package that we can offer for that amount. And we try to really cater something that somebody can still get what they want. We want them to understand that there is other options, not just maybe, everybody sees the Pinterest board or watches HGTV and sees the crazy elaborate items that get put in places. And, to their maybe lack of knowledge, they don't think that it should or does cost what it does. So budget's always one that has right out the gates, we try to have that conversation of expectation. Once we talk, like kind of going a little bit further on the budget conversation, is scope creep. So when you're actually completing a job, scope creep is something that affects not just the contractor, but it affects the homeowner as well. So for anybody that doesn't kind of understand what scope creep is, for us, when we start a project, we have a defined set scope of work. This is what we've agreed upon. These are where we've had all the signatures. This is what we're putting in this spot here. And that allows us to be able to start the job efficiently, get everything planned properly, and be able to complete it to a timeline. Now, what scope creep is when, let's say throughout the process, a homeowner says, you know what? Instead of the vanity being a 4-legged vanity, I actually want it to be a floating vanity. I saw one I love and I've already bought it. Well, that floating vanity requires wood backing behind the drywall. that requires the plumbing to be at a very specific spot, because floating vanities often have drawers that have little cutouts. And then their wish list of this vanity, they just simply see vanity is a vanity, and I don't know why I have to pay more for one versus the other. It's just a vanity. Scope creep means, well, okay, if you really want that, well, now our timeline's extended because I have to open up the drywall. I now have to put the wood behind to support the floating vanity. I have to call my plumbers in and move the plumbing over. It's now the scope itself has creeped to be longer, and that really affects us meeting our timeline. It does put stress on the trades, because often we're calling people back when they believe that maybe their rough-in stage is complete. So they're on other jobs, and we're like, no, you got to get over here. And that's not great for our reputation with our trades. We're highly organized, and we follow our schedule pretty darn close. So scope creep is one that will affect things. So we also try to educate homeowners on, like, when we have a set scope of work, please make sure that everything that we can think of has been thought of before we start, because we want to plan for it. We don't want this to just drag on. We don't want to be renovating your house for much longer than we've set out to renovate it for.
Okay, so this is interesting. This idea of scope creep, and I apologize for cutting you off there, but so this might be a non-negotiable with the homeowner, right? Is this idea of this floating vanity, right? This is something that they must have, but this really needs to be communicated at the beginning of the project. Scope creep is when this idea is maybe, or this necessity or this desire is expressed well into the project, which then just bloats your time on site, right? Is that what we're referring to here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned something else that I want to discuss here, and that's contingencies. It sounds like contingencies is something a homeowner should have in mind when going through a home renovation project, right? We all have the things that these non-negotiables, as I mentioned, but depending on if that will increase the time on site or increase the amount of products needed, you might have to make some concessions or some contingencies on some other things. Is this something that you've seen homeowners neglect to do? And we've seen it dramatized on HGTV or Love It or List It, where, well, we really wanted that kitchen, but we've already blown through the budget, and now we can't do the kitchen. Is this not having those contingencies at the beginning of the project? And you see that as
So a contingency for a homeowner going in is so important for them to have a backup plan. So, if we're doing, say, a $200,000 job, we would say $20,000 to $30,000. Like, make sure that if you've got $200,000 to do the job as we've outlined, above and beyond that for things that are out of our control as the contractor, because any contractor, whether it's me or another one, we can only see what we can see. Until you start opening up walls, until you start ripping floors apart, there's only so much that you can see, and you make your best educated guess, but most of us are going to leave any type of details out regarding something that we can't see, because it would be irresponsible of us to say that we can do something that just had no eyes on it. Now, having that contingency, we've seen it in so many different jobs where we've opened something up. We had a big new build house, for instance, in Waterdown, and it had a garage on the property, very simple looking garage, nothing to it, a big rectangle gable roof. And that garage was planned to be torn down. We're going to take the slab on grade out, and we're going to pitch it, and then we're going to excavate a new basement, and we're going to build a whole brand new house. So this is like week one of $1 million project. We take down the building, we get the excavator in, and we start taking out concrete. As we're taking out the concrete, a slab on grade is anywhere from 4 to 8 inches, especially if it's just like a garage. They might have a little bit of a thicker slab just in case they got machine and stuff on it. The previous people who had built it, it was a 16-inch solid slab of concrete from one end to the other. So immediately, that was much more than what was allocated to be able to do, because it's going to take longer to do. Well, if you're not prepared for those additional costs, it's going to tarnish the relationship between us and the client. So we always say, like, if you say that you have $200,000 and that is top, like I'm just using random numbers, but if that is like the top of your budget, then we have to reverse HST. So you're down 13% right there. So right away, it's not 200,000. You've just got to minus $26,000 off of your top. So now we've came down on price. Then you should take another 10 to 15% of that and put that aside and say, this is now your budget. Now you're probably only around 150, 160 of like hard costs, not including tax. So these are things that we try to educate ahead of time. So that way, at the end of the day, I don't want to be in a position where somebody is financially stressed because there wasn't the proper education to have the money there. Like, it's my responsibility to be able to tell them, make sure you have a little nest egg sitting there for things that happen that I can't tell ahead of time.
And this happens all the time. I mean, even with my own home renovation projects, things creep up, and it might be this one vanity wasn't available. Well, we want to pick another one, and this one happens to be more money, but this is something we really want. So this idea of a little nest egg is invaluable advice for homeowners here.
A lot of this comes down to communication. Any type of thing that whether it's like the explanation of the proposal, what's been included, budget conversations, design ideas, any topic that we're discussing right now, I think the core always comes down to proper communication. I think if you're a great communicator and you can make sure that the other side has not just heard you, but they were listening, and everybody's communicating right, a lot of these items can actually go a lot smoother when communication is at a very high.
That's where I was transitioning. So I wanted to transition over to communication. You took the words out of my mouth, right? So it seems like one part of that communication is really just be that attention to detail and being very thorough. Would it not be? I mean, you kind of detailed it that as the homeowner, even if it seems trivial or insignificant, if it just write every type of detail you want as part of this project to and communicate that to the contractor, right?
Yeah, yeah. Every contractor also has different methods and infrastructure to how they run. You're always going to have Jim in a truck, and then you're going to have somebody like ourselves, where we have established. We have a couple thousand square feet office. We have office staff that takes out. We have accounting specialists, junior estimators. We have fractional CFO. We've got sales. We've got site supervisors, project managers, production managers. We have a lot of people that are going to be catering to each individual that we actually take on as our clients. And we use a CRM, so we use a management software that is the heartbeat of what we do. It's called buildertrend. Now, buildertrend is a hub and allows a client to have a portal on the backside. Not everybody does that because not everybody's set up for that. Now, we prefer it because communication is a very high pillar in what we do and how we communicate with our clients. We want to make sure that any need is taken care of right away. Now, what buildertrend allows us to do is right from the day we sign contract, which we also have all of our proposals are done through buildertrend, so they're fired over. So right from that early stage, everything is tracked, everything is in the same spot, and we can manage it in one area. I'm not looking through emails, text messages, asking, my production manager that had a conversation, what happened there? Why didn't I get anything? It all stays in one spot. If there's a communication, it's all in the message board. If there's a daily log from moving parts, it's in a specific tab, daily logs, that has pictures and updates of what happened on that day. To-do lists, scheduling, Gantt charts, it's all so easy to understand. And that's because communication's so high on our list, it was a no-brainer that we had to bring that on and learn the system. So that's how we do it to keep up the connection with any of our homeowners. Keep it all in one spot.
So just like anything else, great communication can resolve a lot of issues, or it can, stray or keep you away from mistakes or missteps that you might take. So, like anything, it always comes down to great communication. I wanted to transition over to, there are some projects that there are some parts of a project that the homeowner really can take on themselves, whether it be painting or things like that. But what would you say are some of those parts of a project you really should just let a professional take on? And for me, it's usually 99% of the project. I can put on some doorknobs, but that's about the extent of the actual DIY stuff I'm doing. But there's got to be some particulars of a project that, yeah, you really need just to let a professional do that.
When it comes to safety, I'm always going to go back to structure. That is also why, like I had said earlier on, that's where I had begun. And we've seen firsthand, even as professionals, how dangerous some situations can be if you take it for granted. So anything structure related, I really don't suggest a homeowner or an inexperienced person to watch a video and say, oh, if I just put up two little walls and I take this structure out, I can just put this beam in. The reason why a lot of people think it's easy is because I do this on a regular basis. Anything that you have a lot of repetitions at, you're going to make look easy. I can't hit a baseball like an MLB player, but darn does he make it look easy. So it's anybody that's a professional in their field is going to make that look easy. And that also comes, the downside is also some people don't value it because they're like, well, like the charge you, sort of what you charged was X, but you were only here for, like a day and a half. And it kind of seems I've done the work, I've done the breakdown, and really, I think I should only be paying for this. And it's like, that's not how it works. Industry standards say this is the value of that based on the education required to get there. We don't fuss with a brain surgeon if he takes less time, right? It costs what it costs to get the job done. So that it's 100% success at the end of it. So that's structure is always one of them. Now, the way that we have positioned ourselves, we have a couple set guidelines on how BDC runs. So we are open to homeowners if they have, let's say, their family member is an electrician. They must be a licensed electrician, and they must have an interview with us if we're going to use them. We're okay using somebody's trade, but they must pass ours, and they have to be okay if they don't. The other one is, like if a homeowner wants to paint some walls, we are open and okay with something like that. But the big thing that we focus on when a homeowner says they have somebody they know where they want to take on a scope of work, we have it in our contract. If any delay happens because of homeowners, there are stipulations that financially affect the job. So if there's delays because of somebody that they have chose, they have to own that, because that's not somebody we've built a relationship with over 10 plus years. It's not somebody that that has our back, that has worked alongside us for so long that they're willing to, put something down here and pick it up over here if BDC gives them a call. So that when you have a company that's well established, there is a bit of leverage with the trades that we work with for better and worse. And because that builder trend schedule that we put out, we don't want scope creep happening because the electrician can only do evenings and weekends because it's your cousin. So even if they're a licensed electrician, they have to, when we put a timeline and we say electrical roughing is 3 days, if they go 4 days, there's going to be some emails sent because that's affecting everybody. And we want to get homeowners in. We want to get them moved back in their place as quick as possible.
And to circle back to how this conversation started, you talked about trust, you building trust with the homeowner, but it's a two-way street. Trust is a two-way street. So you have to trust that homeowner as much as they have to trust you. So that's a critical element to this whole process. In relation to some of those DIY tasks that homeowners may want to take on, largely that's due to they're just trying to cut costs. But what are some of the areas where cutting costs just really actually may cost you more in the end, or just doesn't make a lot of sense to you?
I got a prime example. The anybody who buys like faucets off of Amazon that are not like your typical, typical Delta, Kohler, anything that's not a name brand, that's something that you can pick up locally. Don't do it. Please stop doing that to contractors. We had an absolute stunning second floor addition that we built, beautiful ensuite that had a floating tub and shower, double vanity. It was gorgeous, but they wanted to pick up all their faucets, and we're like, no problem. They got a big floating, or they got a pedestal tub, and they wanted a tub filler attached to it. That tub filler leaked once, got it fixed, leaked again, ordered another one, leaked again, and then we finally were like, we're not going to come back and service this unless you have a name brand. Like it just has to be a name brand, or we're not willing to service this. This is no longer our responsibility. It's a product issue, and we have to draw the line somewhere, and that's just fair. Like we are people with mortgages and families, and like our own commitments, and we can't just keep going just for the sake of goodwill. There has to be a mutual understanding. Like you said, there has to be a trust where it's like, hey, I don't mind if it leaks. Okay, we'll come back and the service call is free the first time. Let's get it switched out. But after the second time, it's like, you have to understand, I can't just keep coming back because the product you bought was not great. And that's also why we really encourage, not everybody's got the budget for it. When they see the amount, they feel like they don't have the budget for a design package. And I understand, because it's the first kind of like lump sum that they have to commit to versus the whole renovation. So anything over like $150,000, $200,000, to spend a small percentage of that on a design contract and making all your decisions, making all of your selections, and knowing where the product's coming from and how it blends together, that hands down makes a renovation go smooth for the homeowner, makes a renovation go smooth for us as the contractor. It's one of the smartest decisions for a homeowner to get into, even if it's a little bit of that, like just like, oh, I didn't really realize that it would cost, a few $1,000s, maybe, sometimes they're $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. They can be up into the 20s. They can, depending on, if you're designing an entire house and it's every aspect, you're talking $50,000. But if we're like main floor renovation and such, the investment means that you have peace of mind. And to me, I value my peace of mind. If I'm having a big renovation happen and I need to move out of my house and I need to stay somewhere off site, or stay with in-laws, parents, cottage, or whatever that looks like, Airbnb, the number one thing is that you want to get back in your house. And you want to get back in your house quickly. If you're paying for rent, if you're paying for an Airbnb, those costs are going to add up if you haven't ran the job efficiently. If you're staying with in-laws, well, you might not have a close relationship. There might be some of this going on if you're staying with in-laws. If you're allocating your family, like I've got 3 boys. If I had to take me, my wife, and my 3 boys to my parents' house, that's not going to last too long. So like I'm going to be pushing on the contractor to speed up. But what have I done as the homeowner to help that? So like, again, it's a mutual trust that goes both ways, where you can't just put it on one side. It's like both parties have to come to the middle and say, this is the best direction to head in to complete this project on time.
Excellent. Yeah, and the word of the day is obviously trust, and it all circles back to that. But that's exceptional advice there, and that timeline of a renovation project certainly has a lot of stress to it, and managing that stress can be very difficult. What type of advice would you give to a homeowner trying to manage the stresses of a home renovation project, so especially one to what you were saying? If you have to move out, I recently had a renovation project where we were living out of a hotel for a couple days, or we were sleeping on our couches down in the main floor because all upstairs was inaccessible, and that can be very stressful. Our drawers were down in the basement. We didn't have access to closets. So do you have any suggestions, advice on managing that type of stress?
For managing that kind of stress, so a lot comes down to, I'm going to use the word again, but if you've made the decision to hire a contractor. You've done your due diligence. You've called the references. Heck, like we don't just do references. We also invite individuals out to active jobs, because as a lot of people may think, like, what did you put down on your resume when you went to apply? You didn't put down the uncle that dislikes you. You didn't put down the disgruntled neighbor that, you're not going to put down those people. You're going to put down people that you killed it for. That's the nature of it. You want people in your corner speaking very highly about yourself. But what I find is very crucial is, can a potential client also speak to an existing somebody you're working on their house with at that time? Can they actually go to the construction site and say, hey, how does this construction site set up? Is it clean? Does it look organized? Can you actually have a conversation with the homeowner, like a candid conversation with the homeowner that you're actively working on? So given all of that homework that should go into making the decision, when the renovation's happening and there's stress starting to be felt, I think there should be a little bit of patience in order for you to trust yourself that, I've made the right decision. I've done the right homework to get us to where we are. Some of the change orders or some of the scope creep that's happening, you got to be patient and understand that is part of the process, and that no one renovation is more special than the other, in the sense of everybody's going through that, whether you hired us or you hired somebody else. Now, I do believe that a lot of people do it great, and then many people don't. But at least from where we sit, we want to manage that expectation. Stress is going to be coming from a lot of lack of communication, unknowns, uncertainty, bills rising, scope creep, schedule, all of that. But if there's really good level of communication throughout, we hope to mitigate that. And that doesn't mean that it's eliminated. People are going to feel the stress. This, again, biggest investment of their life, possibly like the longest period of displacement. They worked so hard to get a home, and now they got to move out of that home somewhere else while it's being renovated. So there's so much emotion that happens from a homeowner, because they're walking through this process that maybe they're unfamiliar with. Most people are unfamiliar with it. It is their first major renovation. So stress is a tough one, but it's common.
You nailed it, though. At the beginning, those expectations are set. And if you have that trust in the contractor, that goes a long way to mitigating it. And if everything was communicated accordingly and properly ahead of time, then, and as a homeowner, I just think you need to have an understanding that that initial deadline that might be set, there's going to be wrenches thrown into the mix, and you have to anticipate that as a homeowner. And all the contractors I've worked with, and I'm sure you're the same, you would certainly communicate the potential wrenches that might be thrown into a project, whether it be a manufacturer, a supplier, they're laid on a vanity or whatever it might be. So just having that wherewithal, I think, would certainly help a homeowner through this type of situation. And then, of course, end of the light of the tunnel. You're going to be able to enjoy the fruits of that labor or that investment at some point, right?
That's right. And yeah, you touched on it a bit. There's like some of the things that come up that will cause stress is, like the supply chain issue. You've picked a specific item that happens to be delayed. Well, homeowners now trying to last minute pick a new item. They don't really love it. It's not the same color. It doesn't match. Blah, 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 blah. All the while you're like, and I don't live at home, and my kids are this, and work is demanding. So like your regular life doesn't stop, and you've added this other one in it, this other portion of it, being that you've done a renovation or you're doing a new build. So yeah, regular life's doesn't slow down or stop, and now you've got a little bit more weight on it. So it's managing your own expectation of stress throughout.
Mike, this has been awesome. I thank you for your time. I know our audience will have learned a lot. I've learned a lot. Scope creep. That's my main takeaway. Besides the trust that you have to build, that's a two-way street. The contractor with the homeowner. The importance of communication. But scope creep is something I didn't know about, and now I do, and I feel smarter for that. So I thank you, Mike, for your time. And do you want to just let everyone know where they can learn more about Building Dreams Contracting?
You can find us on Instagram at Building Dreams Contracting. You can find us on Facebook at the same handle. And you can go and visit us at our website, www.buildingdreamsinc.ca. Take a look at the website. We have a lot of different content on there. We regularly update it. We have a media page there that links us right to all the different podcasts. I also run our own podcast called the Blueprint Podcast, where it's short segments where we specialize on, or where we discuss small subjects and dive into it. You can take a look at that on our website as well. And if you are looking for a renovation, there's a button at the top of our webpage that says request a quote. You just click that, fill it out, and it goes right into our Buildertrend lead funnel, and we'll call you back within 24 hours.
Just to be clear, you provide your service from Hamilton to how far within Southern Ontario are you providing your service?
So it's a bit of I would say like a kidney bean sort of shape. So we're Oakville all the way to Niagara on the Lake. So we wrap around the water, and then we're like Dundas water down all the way to like Stony Creek right at Lake Ontario. So we have a nice little bubble. And for anybody that is interested specifically, again, if on our website, very bottom of the page of the website, we have a map, and you can actually see all the different areas that are highlighted in the map and see if you fall within our serviceable area.
All right, Mike, thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Luke. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.